Good evening, everyone. Let's please have a seat. We're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for being patient with the rain delay out there. My name is Dr. Carl Stockton, and I'm Chancellor here at Auburn University at Montgomery. We're very happy to host this town hall. I know Mayor Reed is out there waiting to come in. I want to personally welcome Mayor Reed and thank him for being here. And Mayor Reed, I know it's been a while since you've been on our campus, so welcome back. You're always welcome here, so thank you for being here. Also, I want to introduce a few people, and I hope I don't miss anybody. City Council, Charlie Ginwright. Charlie, you're there. County, thank you, Charlie, for being here. County Commission Chair, Doug Singleton. Doug, I don't know where you went to, but thank you for being here. Anna Buckaloo, CEO of the Chamber. Anna, thank you for being here with us tonight. One of the things that I want to say is I want to thank Chief Brenda Mitchell and our campus police department for all that they do. Thank you, Chief, for all they do day to day. And I want to thank MPD for what you do each and every day. And especially partnering with our AUM campus police to help us out. So thank you for that. One last thing before I introduce our moderator tonight is, being the chancellor, I have to say something about AUM, okay? So it's in my blood, right? So if you have seen this building going up off the interstate between exit 6 and exit 9, the old Alabama Department of Public Health, we have taken that building, renovated it to a 57,000 square foot science and technology complex. And we hope to have our students in there beginning in January. So that's what that building is. I get a lot of questions asked. So with that, I know I've used my time up. It is now my pleasure to introduce our moderator for tonight's event, who will then introduce Mayor Reed. Our moderator is Reverend Candace B. Frazier, who is from Selma, Alabama. Reverend Frazier pursued her undergraduate studies at the University of Alabama. I'll forgive you for that. Before answering her calling to ministry at Sewanee, where she completed her seminary training. Currently serving as the rector of the Episcopal Church of the Ascension in Montgomery, Alabama, Reverend Frazier embodies a profound commitment to teaching, compassion, and fostering meaningful relationships with her congregation and beyond. Her dedication extends beyond the parish walls and actively engaging in initiatives that uplift the people in our community. So please join me in welcoming Reverend Candace B. Frazier to the podium.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. We are thrilled to have all of you here, both in person and online this evening. Personally, I am delighted to see so many of you here in person, as it represents or tells me that you are interested in making our community a better place to be. So thank you very much for that. I'm also very grateful for those who are online and our presence this evening. Your care and concern is most appreciated and valued as well. I know that there has been some concern that questions had to be submitted for this evening's event. Please be assured that we will also take questions from the floor during the course of the event tonight. And I hope that you will find that the Q&A tonight is a valuable opportunity for our community to come together, to share ideas, to address important issues, and to remember that we are all part of the same common humanity. And in that place, we all desire to be free from suffering and fear and anger, and to know peace and joy. And I hope that our presence this evening inspires that in each of us. Tonight, we are honored to have Mayor Stephen L. Reed with us. Mayor, thank you for being here. Mayor Reed is in his second term in office, and we are so thankful, Mayor Reed, for your concern surrounding the issues that are important in our community and for hosting this town hall meeting tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Before we begin, I'm sorry I forgot to tell you this one last thing. I'd like to remind you of the format for the meeting tonight. We will start with an opening statement from Mayor Reed, followed by a Q&A session where he will answer questions from you here in the audience as well as from online. That Q&A session will invite you, after Mayor Reed's opening comments, to stand at the end of your row where a microphone will be brought to you and we will recognize you from the floor. Mayor Reed, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you. I think they've got me mic'd up. Can y'all hear me? Okay. Well, listen, good evening. Great to see everybody here. Great to see so many people engaged. We want to first thank all of you for coming out, taking time out of your schedule to come to this town hall. You know, we started talking about this at the beginning of the year about how to get more engaged with the community. And one of the things we have wanted to do was to do a town hall kind of at mid-year, right after our State of the City, to kind of talk about where we were. In our State of the City address, we talked about some ambitious goals, some of which we're on track to hit, some of which we're not where we want to be. So we've still got a little bit of work to do. But I certainly want to discuss a lot of the good things that have been happening that many of you have been a part of helping to make happen, because it's never just one person in City Hall. It's never just one person on the council. It's always a collective. It's always a community project to get things where we want them to be. And, you know, when we started in January, we had a sense that we had a big, big project that was coming that we couldn't talk about. And that project turned out to land, and that was an $800 million announcement in the form of Meta, bringing a data center to the city of Montgomery. Give yourselves a round of applause. I see our chamber leadership back here. I see our city council leadership here, Charlie Jenwright, and I know some of their own neighborhood meetings. But that was truly a collective. Our county partners, our state Montgomery is transformational. This is something that puts us in a different paradigm. It puts us in a knowledge-based economy. It is something that we have sought to do even before I was in office, and would ask our city leaders and county leaders about how are we looking to pivot our economy? How are we looking to bring more high-paying, more knowledge-based economy jobs to this city? I would have never thought that it would be Meta. And for those who don't know what that is, if you have kids or grandkids, they may probably not on Facebook. You're still on Facebook. They've gotten all that. They're probably on Instagram and WhatsApp. All those things, those apps are owned by Meta. So a significant flagship investment right here in Montgomery, not to our city to the north, but right here in central Alabama. That's something that truly, truly took a lot of teamwork, and again has put us in a place that probably not since Hyundai in 2004 will we see this type of trajectory for the city and where it will take us. But that hasn't stopped us from focusing on our existing businesses as well. We've been proud to see businesses here expand and double down in their investment. We've been proud to see our Access Montgomery initiative through the American Rescue Plan Act dollars go towards the support of small and mid-sized businesses. So we're not headline grabbing announcements. We're been right here and those that want to grow with us over these next few years and certainly in the coming months ahead in the short term. So that's just one of the great things. But we were also named one of the top 52 places to visit by the New York Times. Now, why is that important? Because that puts us for 2024 into a strong tourism and entertainment position. We lead the state in lodging tax revenues. Lodging tax revenues are so important for our city budget, one that is strapped relative to cities our size. Our city budget is about $311 million. Our city, Birmingham, has over $500 million. So we have to do more with less. And with that, Every dollar counts. And so we've been excited about just the tourism. We've been excited about the visits, those that are supporting our small businesses, our retail, and our lodging industry. But it's not even just that really has me excited about the work that all the 2,400 plus employees in the city of Montgomery have been doing, along with many of you in your faith-based organizations, your community-based organizations. It is also where the city has been going from a grant process. When we think about the fact that we have received over $50 million from the federal government just this year alone, capped by an announcement today of $16.6 million in grant funding for electric vehicles as well as that infrastructure. I want to thank the planning department. That comes from the Federal Transit Authority, but I certainly want to also highlight the $36.6 million that we received earlier, if I get this right, for the Selma to Montgomery Voting Rights Trail. So when you consider just those two entities alone, that is significant investment in our infrastructure. That's significant investment in parts of the city that have not had this type of impact investing. That leads to other jobs, that leads to other development, and that leads me to the great news about over 5,000, I'm sorry, Robert Smith, I think corrected me, almost about 8,000 housing units that are planned for the city of Montgomery. That is significant growth and that's significant progress. So I know that a lot of that also has to do with our public schools who are meeting tonight. So I want to thank them for their work and the leadership and progress under Dr. Brown, as well as Dr. Brenda DeRamus-Coleman, the chair of our schools. That's very important. That shows growth. That shows belief in our city. That shows belief in this community and the good things that so many of you all are doing here. So when we think about that trajectory, that's very, very positive. So whether it's small business or whether it's housing or whether it's jobs, those things continue to roll on. Those are certainly some high points that we can point to. Now, certainly, I think that we have some challenges as it relates to public safety. And when we think about public safety, that's not an area that we're satisfied on where we are right now. We're not satisfied on where we are right now, not because of the work that the police officers and 911 and fire and rescue are doing, just because we aren't satisfied with the results. And we understand that as a community, you want and need a feeling of safety. You want and need a feeling and deserve a sense of confidence. And so that's why we have been looking at best practices from around the country to see what works, to see how we can be proactive, to see how we can be preventive in nature, to do everything from a policy perspective at the local level to working with our state legislators as well. So even with that, we aren't happy with being flat overall in terms of our homicide rate year over year. We aren't happy just by being down slightly in terms of non-fatal shootings, just 10%. We aren't slightly with the uptick that we've seen in violent crime overall around robberies and burglaries and things of that nature. So there are things that we're looking to do. There are things that we are looking to leverage, not only our sense of technology, but also how do we bring in new men and women into law enforcement. And that's why I'm proud to work with our city council, who has stood steadfast in passing a 14% pay increase for our law enforcement professionals. Well, that was 2 years ago, so now you can really clap because it's 15%. I think that's on the table right now coming in. So when you consider that 29%, that doesn't include the cost of living adjustments. That's an investment just in our professionals who are answering those calls from people, whether they live here or traveling through here, and something that may be happening. They're the ones that are running into those problems. But we know that we still have other challenges, not just about money. It's how can we provide a better workplace environment? How can we make sure that they're getting the mental rest that they need, the physical rest that they need? How can we provide a better sense of working in collaboration with all of them who are doing such great work? So we have to continue to do that, but we know we've got to get more people in as we see more and more of our senior law enforcement officials retire, others who are going to other law enforcement agencies who we work with both at the sheriff's office, at the state level, as well as federal law enforcement, and then some who are just choosing to do to follow other careers. So those are some of the things that we have to make sure we focus on when it comes to police. Now, as it relates to Montgomery Fire and Rescue, they've been doing a great job. They have received a higher accreditation, which only just a handful of only a handful of fire and rescues across this country have. I think it's less than 25. Am I right, Chief Addy? Okay. I don't see Chief Jordan, but I'm sure. Oh, I'm sorry, Chief. I saw Chief Addy right there. But only a handful of those have received that. So, Chief Jordan, kudos to you and kudos to Montgomery Fire and Rescue. These things don't come easy. They come with a lot of hard work. They come with a lot of preparation and dedication. And our men and women at Montgomery Fire and Rescue do just that. And very recently, I want to highlight this, and then I'll take my seat. Chief Jordan has been very amenable to assisting in other areas of public safety, like our 911, where we're experiencing a shortage of 911 operators. Many of us don't think about the mental pressure that goes with a 911 operator who is taking calls of people who are in a panic, people who are in trauma. Many of us have called either for ourselves or for a loved one because something has happened. That takes a tremendous toll. And so even in our 911 space, we have a shortage, and we're looking at ways to bring in more people to answer those calls, in particular on that late shift when those calls really come in and they are really problematic to hear. But I want to thank Chief Jordan for making some of our best and brightest in Montgomery Fire and Rescue in a short pinch to go over and answer those 911 calls to make sure that when you call 911, it is answered promptly, and it is answered professionally, and we get someone out there to make sure you or your loved one is taken care of. So, Chief Jordan, thank you again on that. As I close, and then we'll get right to our questions, I'm excited that so many of you all are here. I'm excited about the work that's been happening in this city. So many good things that are taking place. $35 million in investments in our parks and recreation space alone, from Lagoon Park to the Crump Center to Sheridan Heights Community Center. We're paving roads, Charlie, all across the city. We're doing a lot of things as it relates to infrastructure, as it relates to neighborhood and community uplift and investment. So it's been a great first half of the year in some regards, and again, some others. We've got challenges. And finally, I want to say this. Your finances are in great shape thanks to Betty Beville, our finance director for the city of Montgomery. We have the best financial reserves, the highest financial reserves that we've had in the last at least 25 years. We didn't go back before 1999. But to have as much money as we do, $60 million in reserves, that is something that is significant for us. That's 20% of our budget, and that is what that's the goal for most cities. And I was told that there were times when the city did not have $1 million in reserves. So to have that is significant, and that is grateful. We should be grateful for not only our management, but also where this city is poised and positioned to do some of the other things that I'm sure we'll get to tonight, and to do some of the things that some of you have sent in questions that we may not be able to get to in 2025 or 2024, but maybe we'll be able to get to them and we can afford them in 2025. But with that said, I just want to thank everybody from the city of Montgomery for all the hard work that you do. Thank all of you from the community. And Pastor, I'll turn it over to you to ask whatever questions may be up next. All right? Thank you.
Thank you. As we move on to our question and answer portion of the evening, I would remind you that if you do have a question from the floor, please raise your hand. When selected, please step to the end of your row, tell us your name, and ask your question. We're going to start, though, with a question submitted by Mr. J. Mays online. What incentives can the city of Montgomery offer to police officers to reduce the turnover rate and to get more officers to apply to MPD?
Yeah, that's a great question. I want to thank Mr. Mays for that. one of the things we've been talking about really for the last couple of years is we started to see the retirement of police officers around not only this city but around the state and the nation is what were other cities doing. We came up with signing bonuses. We have worked with some of our local banks for mortgage loan abatements, if you will, in terms of some of the fees and closing fees. We're here at AUM who gives, Dr. Stockton does a great job here, who gives a discount to our men and women who are working in the Montgomery Police Department. We just announced a great benefits package that Faulkner University came to us with to give significant discounts to not only our men and women in the police department, but also their family members, their children, as well as stepchildren, as well, for significant tuition discounts, upwards of 50 and 60%. So those are some of the things that we're doing. And then now, under this current package, we have proposed signing bonuses, as well as recruitment and retaining bonuses for our men and women in police department. The other piece is a referral bonus. So as people refer someone to the police department, they get a bonus there as well. And, you know, for us, again, you can't put a price tag on what our men and women in public safety do, and we understand that. But we also understand that they have a level of living that they want to achieve as well. And far too long in the public sector, we have asked them to sacrifice, and the entities that provide the salaries and benefits, you know, have not put that back towards their sacrifice. So when we passed the 14% pay increase just 2 years ago, I was told that that had never happened in one sum at one time. But it was something that was long overdue because they had not gotten, in my opinion, the raises that were needed to keep up with the cost of living. Now we're coming back again with a 15% increase for, I think, majors and below. That is really done in part to get those entry level and some of those mid-level law enforcement professionals to take a look at Montgomery, and that will put us right there, second only, at least temporarily, with Huntsville. I've already heard from one mayor who said, well, I saw what y'all did, just know we're going to come for you. And that's really where it is between law enforcement agencies. You know, a lot of us are really trying to find those rare folks who want to be in that space, and it goes from Tuscaloosa to Huntsville to Baldwin County. And so it's a tough position. But the other thing is we're also expanding our net. We are trying to recruit from the Midwest by talking about the days of sunshine that we have, the cost of living that exists here. We're trying to use everything to get people to take a look at Montgomery, Alabama, and what type of career they could have with our police department.
Thank you. That is excellent. Is there a question in the audience for us?
Okay.
Well, not seeing one, just to kind of play off that. Can you talk about?
Here's one.
Oh, is there one? Oh, I see right here. There's this gentleman right here. Can you tell us your name and ask your question?
Tate. You got it? Okay. Kind of prepared, sort of stuff. But as a concerned citizen, first of all, I want to thank you guys for what you guys do. First and foremost. Absolutely. We came here in 1995. We've seen the crime increase. We came from Germany, Saudi Arabia. We came here to Maxwell, and we've just seen, obviously, spiral down. To me, this is the most important issue facing this city. Why? Thank you for asking. Because any other psych majors in here? Okay. In psychology, there's a thing called Maslow's. Okay, you got it. So when you start looking at what's important for the human beings, the very bottom of the pyramid is those physiological needs: food, water, shelter, warmth, things like that. Next is safety. Yeah. Okay. So all the things we're doing in the city are excellent. They really are. I mean, hats off. But if I go to the Shakespeare Festival because it's one of the best on the planet, and it is, but I take a bullet to the face, guess what? You failed. So safety is, by far, in my opinion, the most important issue facing us. Since we don't have bread lines, we don't have people going to the Alabama River, taking water out to drink it because there's no drinking water. Based on Maslow, and I ascribe to that, I'd say, hey, Okay, safety is important. So I think as a society, which we are, microcosm of society, I think we have to ask those important questions in a society. And I'm an ex-military guy, 25 years, flew airplanes, flew in combat, Desert Storm, things like that. So I spent 10 years operational planning here at Maxwell.
I'm going to interrupt. This is the pastor's first time doing this. Is not mine. I know we got a lot of questions. I'm going to ask you if you can get to your questions so we can
get
cover
to the question
ones
right quick.
that we have.
My question to you.
Yes.
In the Air Force, we sit there and say, no one, who's the smartest person in the room? You might be.
No, I'm not.
I don't know. You might be. This young lady might be. I might be. But it doesn't matter because no one is smarter than everybody in the room. Period. Dot.
Yes, sir.
So my question is, in your 24 June press conference, you said, we try to work with anybody who can bring credible plan to the city to address those that are on the margins, those who are susceptible to gun violence, and those who may engage in that type of behavior. Right. I applaud that 100%. Absolutely, there's no doubt about that. But my question is, as someone who's done operational planning for 10 years in the Air Force, objective strategies, things, when you're planning combat, how do I kill this guy? You need to know exactly what it is you want to do. Mm-hmm. So when I'm sitting there saying, my question is, what exactly are we doing in the city to gather those minds that are different than the people that are already here? There is anathema.
Can I answer that question?
Absolutely.
And then we're going to ask, we're going to move back to the pastor, and then we'll get back to it. I'll answer that question. So first of all, thank you for your service, and I appreciate you being here, and thanks for being a long-time resident. We've got probably two of the best law enforcement leaders sitting on the same row with you, and the former director of public safety in Mobile and former chief of police in Lawrence Batiste, who I brought on a special advisor to the mayor to help us, as well as Kelvin King, who is now who's a 27-year veteran of the FBI, as well as local law enforcement as well, who is managing who is now our Inspector General. So that's just those two gentlemen right there along with our new interim police chief, Jim Grayboys, who has already kind of gotten his feet on the ground and started to reach out not only to current officers but former officers and those in the community about what things we can do different. So I think having a brain trust like them certainly helps us, and it's one of those things where, you know, you guys as a leader, you got to accept that if some of the moves you made aren't giving you the results that you're looking for, you got to make some different moves. And that's what we've done, and that's what we have, I think, in these law enforcement professionals. And that's also to bring in those in the community who have been very engaged. I mean, I've gotten great ideas. Great ideas via Instagram from some community leaders here. That's how they communicate. Great ideas. We've gotten some that have come through, you know, just the old-fashioned way of phone calls. Others who have sent some letters about some things that we used to do in the city that, you know, we stopped doing, and maybe we ought to get back to that. And so we've gotten great ideas and great feedback from the community as well, and we'll be breaking a lot of those things down. Really have already started with Chief Hall about how we move forward. The final thing I want to say on that question is our Sheriff's Department, as well as our state law enforcement agency, we call it ALEA, so forgive me if I use that term. It's the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency, have been great. And they have been working with us really for about the last year to 18 months, very strong. They picked it up as we asked, probably beginning of the second quarter of this year. We've seen some positive results there, and we've also started a little bit more work with our federal partners as well. ATF, FBI mentioned, U.S. Marshals have been outstanding. So those are things on the response side. What I think we have to get a little better in doing, and I've talked with a lot of community leaders, people who've been in this space longer than I've been mayor, is how do we get back in the community to get on the front side of it, right? So how do we kind of get on the front side of this so we aren't chasing some of the bad actors the way we are right now? So again, we've got some great ideas for some professionals, but also for many that are here in this community who've been doing this work a long time that we're listening to. Yes.
Thank you. And Mr. Mayor, and as Mr. Tate reminds me, please keep those questions limited because we do have just an hour tonight together, and we do want to hear from any citizens as possible. So thank you so much for your question. Yes, ma'am. If you will tell us your name and ask your question as briefly as possible.
Shinbaum, and I have several questions. I read that.
Can you limit
Just
your
one
questions
question?
to your most important one, please?
Well, a lot of them have to do with the violence. So, summarize it? Okay. You should not have discounted the fact that the sheriff's office said that they would send help after their initial, the help that they sent. I read that you said that we didn't need them. We do need them.
Well, time out. So one, let me correct that. You read that wrong. I've never said we didn't need the sheriff's department's help. So that's not correct. No, ma'am. Still have it. Yes, ma'am. Listen, can you hold the mic up? Yes,
my suggestion is that we also buy drones. We have the money. I know other cities have done it successfully to monitor high crime areas and to respond to accidents that don't have injuries.
Do you have a question for the mayor, please?
Yes. Okay. Let's see. Why is it a police department policy to exercise the option to either ignore or not ignore credible bomb threats?
I don't know that we ignore any credible bomb threats that I'm aware of. I'm sorry? I'm not sure that we've ignored any bomb threats, to my knowledge. That has not been reported to me. But I'd love to follow up with you on that. But let me also address the other point there. We do have drones. I'll just stop there. But as it relates to help, we don't turn down help from our federal partners, our state partners, or our county partners. So I just want to make sure that point is clarified. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. There's a question in the back.
Good afternoon. Good evening. My name is Patrice Jackson. I'm a citizen of Montgomery. I've worked for the city of Montgomery, but I have more of a comment. I had a part-time job downtown Montgomery, and people from all over the world come to Montgomery. You would not believe it. All over the world, every continent, to different things that we're having, different conventions. And the most I heard so much, I really like this place. I really like it. And Mayor, with you getting all these companies that we have never thought we would get, like Meta here, how is it to the community? It's so bad, but then all the visitors come in. It's good. And I worked there for about a year in a historic building. Never had an incident. Never. So the crime is, it's the issue with it, but how do you just gravitate? These big companies come in here.
Yeah.
And that's just my comment, because it just does not correlate for me. How we get that here, and then other people are coming here. They love everything about Montgomery, everything.
Well, I think the beauty of the city, thank you for your comment, I think is that we've got great people. We face challenges together, and we overcome them together. And so we've overcome some. We've done very well in a lot of areas I just mentioned kind of in my statements when we started. But we certainly know that we have challenges as it relates to not only the perception around crime, but the reality around crime. And so it's important for us to try to balance that and recognize the things that we're doing well, but also the things that we know we are not doing as well as we need to, respective to members of the community, whether they be a visitor or whether they be a resident as well. So we've got to continue to do that. We are just for you to know, we are the #1 city in this state for international tourists. That says a lot. And we're second overall, and that's only because Huntsville takes every 4th grader to the Space and Rocket Center, or we'd be #1 for visitors overall. So people are coming. We want them to stay. We want them to visit the entire region, whether that's Prattville, whether that's Wetumpka, whether that's Tuskegee. We want them to visit this whole region. We try to, push and promote a lot of the good things and a lot of the history that you have here, but also the military, a lot of the arts, all of those things that you have here in our city. And so that really has buoyed that city budget that I was talking about. I mean, it's been a lot of those taxes, a lot of people coming in. We want them to stay a little bit more. That's why we work with the county, with the Montgomery Whitewater initiative. They led that, did a great job, and there's some other projects that we're working on too that maybe if I have a little time, I'll give you all a little heads up on. All right?
Thank you.
Pastor?
Yes, back in the back. In the green dress. Oh, the white suit was first, and she is allowing him to go first. So we'll do him and then her.
I have a quick comment, then I have a quick question.
Can you give us your name first, please?
William Boyd.
Thank you, Mr. Boyd.
Mayor Reed, I'm so proud of your accomplishment. I know everyone should be clapping, but I'm so proud to see you serve in the capacity of an Afro-American male, bringing all these millions of dollars into this city. Never been done before. You need to be commended. I understand that crime is an issue to some, and it should be an issue to all. But I brought my 2 daughters to this forum tonight, and so my college student asked the question. She said, Dad, it appears that young people are committing most of the crime, but in the rooms are all adults. So she asked the question, when will the young people get a forum where you really can dig into the minds of the young people for an answer about why their peers are out there doing these crazy things? So my question is, will you have a forum in West Montgomery, maybe some of the schools, even when the schools start, to address this issue before the school year get deep into the school term? Thank you.
Mr. Boyd, thank you for your comments and the question. I want to highlight 2 things that our city of Montgomery and the city of Selma have had 2 forums, one in Selma and one in Montgomery with our Office of Violence Prevention and others. And on both of those panels, we had high school students leading the panels. Mayor Perkins and myself only thing we did was we did a quick welcome. We were limited to 3 minutes or less. And with the rest of the time, we had to be quiet and listen. And so we heard some startling things from those young leaders. And they were courageous in what they were sharing with us about the role technology plays, the role social media plays in a lot of the back and forth. Our police department has shared that with me over the last 4.5 years, but it was different coming from them. And so I will commit to you that we would certainly, if you want to put an age limit on, if it's 30 and below, whatever the age limit is, or if it's just high school and below, to have a forum, a town hall like this, so that they can talk to us, public safety professionals, all of us in leadership about what's happening and what we can do to address this issue. Because right now, I mentioned $35 million in construction, a significant amount of that's going into community centers. But we don't want to put city money in community centers and nobody comes to the community centers. So we got to figure out how we get them to the community centers. We had a meeting last week with Montgomery Public Schools about how we reinvest in middle school sports and athletics, not for wins and losses or for scores, but for lessons in life. And how can we teach them character building through sports? That was our second meeting that we've had with MPS, and our city council has been supportive for the last 3.5 years in trying to get that going. So we want to bring positive mentors, positive role models, because what we hear from some of our high school students as well as teachers is that we don't focus enough on middle school. And that's where we are losing a lot of them is as early as 5th grade, if not before, but certainly 6th and 7th grade. So we want to continue to do those things, and certainly I'll be willing to have a forum with just the young people, and if it's them up here speaking and us sitting right there in the front row listening, then we'll do just that. So tell your daughter, thanks for the question.
Thank you. That is impressive work, not least to mention that you and Mayor Perkins could limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Well, we tried.
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor Reed, for your concern. I, too, am proud of what you have been doing in the city. This is my, well, I guess it's just a suggestion. You know, I know a lot of the murders and the shootings that have happened in the city have been, you know, about conflict resolution. You know, I know we can start, you know, in the elementary, the middle school, and the high school, but have you all considered, and we definitely want to, you know, implement this before anything happen, but it's happening. Have you all thought about implementing conflict resolution in the city and county jail for some of the inmates? Because again, you know, a lot of people, they have not been taught conflict resolution. Some of us come from backgrounds where, hey, that's how you handle issues. You know, when you disrespected, this is what you do. But have you all considered that?
Thank you.
I don't know that we're currently doing that. If we are, they're doing it without my input, which is great. Sometimes the best ideas are the ones I don't have any involvement in. But if we're not doing that, I certainly think it's something worth considering for us. I know that some of our community leaders and some of our community organizations do that, but I don't know if we're doing that in our city jail or the county jail as well. But I think it's certainly a great point for us to take a look into. And if you have any examples of cities that are doing that, we'd love to know. And Eddie, raise your hand. I'll volunteer. My senior policy advisor, Eddie Compton, to find out just who's doing it well and to see if we can do it in our jails, or if we're already doing it, if we can do it better.
I think there was a queue back here, so is there a microphone in the back? If you could state your name and ask your question briefly.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Zach Buckner. I submitted a question, but it looks like we're not going to get to it. I actually have a question.
Please feel free to ask.
Mayor, or maybe the chief, what effect did the permitless carry law passed by the legislature had on crime in this city?
It's had a significant impact, not just in Montgomery. I'm part of the Alabama Big Ten Mayors Association, and so we meet with the mayors of the 10 largest cities in this state. So Montgomery, Birmingham, Huntsville, Mobile, Auburn, Tuscaloosa, Madison, Decatur, Dothan. I think I named all 10. And we were across the board bipartisan agreement against that legislation, because we understood the challenge that our police departments are facing already, and we understood it would make it harder for us not only to take guns out of the hands of people who should not have them, it would make it a lot more encouraging for those who feel like they have to carry a gun. And so it's had a detrimental impact, certainly on gunshots, which is what we get a lot of feedback from many of you about. Just the gunshots, just the noise itself, right? The danger of the gunshots. But certainly the second thing is it plays into the psyche when you're talking to some of our people who are probably most at risk, if you will, or most on the lines of why they carry a gun. And I've been privy to have some conversations offline through leaders here with people who are in this space, and they just feel like the other person has a gun, so I need to have a gun. And that's unfortunate that we're in this situation. I do think that there are policy initiatives that we can agree on for sensible gun reform. I'm a gun owner. I believe in the Second Amendment. We've got multiple guns in our house. We're trained to use them. Tamika's probably a better shot than I am. But, you know, we have those guns in our house, safely stored and secured. But too many people, as I saw just in a Publix on Atlanta Highway, are carrying in broad daylight. This is at lunch. I'm just going in to get a quick little lunch from the Publix carry out and get right back in, and the young man has a gun that I could see plain as day in jeans that were probably 5 sizes too big. But that's where we are. So I think that from the mayor's perspective, we've already had some conversations because a lot of us are dealing with these issues across this state about how we go back to the legislature and ask for a review of this. I welcome any of your support. Those of you who have great relationships or good relationships or not so good, just your advocacy like you're doing here to talk about how that endangers our residents in our communities. And finally, we mentioned the Sheriff's Department earlier. That's a bill that Sheriff Cunningham and the Alabama Sheriff's Association, the Alabama District Attorneys Association, the Alabama Police Chiefs Association was against. So it wasn't just mayors that was against that. Everyone in law enforcement was against that legislation. And so now what we've seen is a reduction in arrests and guns seized. And we certainly have seen a tremendous spike in gunfire that we're seeing across this city and across our state. So we welcome your support, and I thank you for the question.
Yes, thank you. And that is a great reminder that we do have over 400 questions that were submitted online. So we're going to take just a break from those or from these and ask one of those, if that's okay. So Dan Scott asked, and this I think is a little bit about public safety as well as economic infrastructure, what can be done about abandoned buildings, including homes and commercial properties?
We have probably one of the most aggressive inspectors and permit planners in the state, I believe, in Kippy Tate. And Kippy Tate is a native of Montgomery, and so I emphasize that because he understands these older neighborhoods, he understands the infrastructure, he understands the care that is needed, and he also understands the impact of blight and abandonment, not only on those who live there, but on property owners, on the psyche, as well as the property values of those that live nearby. So we have been very proactive in reaching out to our congressional delegation. Congresswoman Sewell helped us secure, I think, about $5 million last year for blight remediation specifically. But we also have one of the hardest laws in really the country in terms of being able to tear down blight. Let me give you an example. We passed at the city council over 2.5 years ago a resolution or ordinance to tear down the Governor's House Hotel. Many of you who live on the Southern Boulevard or go down Troy Highway 231 know what it used to be and know what it has become. We still have not been able to tear that down because of the laws that are on the books, even though the city council and myself passed that ordinance and signed it. Due to ownership and due to whether they're an out-of-state owner or a local owner, their ability to appeal and what type of window they have and how little they have to show for what they may do. So that impacts us tremendously from a development perspective, and it also impacts us even in terms of some of the homes. Now, with our permits department, again, we can be more aggressive. We have been more aggressive in tearing down homes. And listen, we want people to take care of their homes. We want people to take care of their property. We're now having discussions about how do we deal with out-of-state investors that may call your house or who may send you a text asking you, do you want to sell your home or a home? That is not just a Montgomery or Alabama issue. That is a national issue that is discussed with mayors nationally at the U.S. Conference of Mayors about what type of ordinances can you put in to stop out-of-state investors from basically buying blocks of homes, not doing anything with them, and in some places they're jacking up the rental fee, and others they're just sitting on the property. So those are things that we have to continue to try to adapt to, but I am proud of the blight remediation initiatives that we have with the city of Montgomery under Kippy's leadership. I think we've expanded that code enforcement department last year. I think we're going to be asking for some more folks in that code enforcement department this year, and then we'll be asking for those licensed demolition experts to come help us tear down some more homes.
Thank you. There's a question up here in the front row.
Ann Martin, and I'm active in the community, and I've been working on character education issues since the early 1990s. Montgomery has many new leaders now, including our superintendent of schools, and we have a new academic director who just moved here from Vancouver, Washington. I'm wondering how you all are reaching out. We have a new Y leader. I'm wondering how you're reaching out to these leaders to have them understand the issues that we're discussing in this room. And also,
Thank you, Marion. Let's stick it to one question.
I want to thank you for what you did with the symposium when we started talking about getting youth from Montgomery back on track. Okay. We need your help with it.
All right, thank you. So I just met with our new executive, our new CEO of the YMCA yesterday. Meet with Dr. Brown, who's our superintendent of schools, usually about once every 6 weeks or so, just to kind of get an update on projects and programs that they have going, how we can be helpful from the city side, and what types of challenges is he seeing that we can be helpful with. And then he brings me some challenges that he thinks that we ought to know about as well, that sometimes the school board and the school system can be helpful with as well. So we keep those lines of communication open, and as we get new civic leaders, many people in our city do reach out for an introduction, or they'll bring them to a city council meeting for them to meet the entire council, as well as myself, and to see about ways that we can collaborate to continue to build on our successes and improve on some of those areas where we need improvement around the city.
Thank you. There's a question in the back. If you will tell us your name and ask your question briefly.
My name is Chad Lucci. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. My question is, in 2022, the Biden administration passed a major infrastructure bill increasing passenger rail service and promising new lines to the city of Montgomery. My question is, what is the city doing to help encourage the development of these lines and helping to bring more passenger rail to the city? Thank you.
That's a great question. It's one that a handful of people have brought up to us. Our focus probably has been more so on microtransit and establishing more efficient bus routes. In terms of transportation, it's certainly been a priority to address some of the challenges at the airport that we have. We have not put a lot of effort and energy into rail service, just to be frank with you. That's an area that I know we have a great partner in CSX that we could, as it relates to passenger rail service. Actually, I don't think she'd mind me saying this, General Tullis, who is the commander at Maxwell Air Force Base, suggested that we look at a line from Montgomery to Atlanta. And one of the things that she talked about was what you have in Florida, which is where she's from, but also some of the expansions now we're seeing in other parts of the Mountain West and some of the Mid-Atlantic areas as well. So it's certainly been talked about, but just for us, we think we have more pressing needs as it relates to public transportation, and then trying to build out our economy with freight and cargo service and bringing more of that to our airport, considering that we have the intermodal facility that will be coming online as well. But I thank you for that topic, and thank you for the question.
Thank you. There was a question right here. Oh, and I'm missing some people over here, so we'll get you next, okay?
Hi, I'm Vernalisa Bruce, and I have a question in her hand there, one of the 400, but we may not get to it, so I want to just address it here. When we had the Summit for Violence Prevention, we had a group that came in and gave us these great ideas, some of the best practices, and one of their statements where they reduced their violent crime by 85%. Is the city of Montgomery looking at following through with those programs that they suggested?
Yes, we are. Eddie Compton has submitted a proposal to us that I brought up at a recent city council meeting under the Live Free initiative. That is, would be our community violence intervention approach that is collaborative and working with community leaders across the city, working with our educators, and working with trusted messengers, those who maybe have been on the other side of the law, who now want to prevent other people from being on that side of the law. And that price tag is $6 million. That's something that we want to fully fund. We want to ask for state support in that. We want to ask for county partnership in that. We want to ask for city partnership in that, because we believe as many police officers we'd love to have right now, we've got to do more in the community. We've got to make sure that we are being proactive and that we are getting on the front side of conflict resolution and some of these feuds that are leading to innocent people being shot, grandmothers, aunts, adults who are taking in a loved one. And we've got to make sure that we are using those blueprints of what's working in some more challenging cities that have seen the results, that we can use some of those practices here. So that tag is $6 million, and we plan to ask all of our partners to help us support that, because we do believe public safety is the #1 issue in this city right now. It certainly is the #1 concern, and rightly so. And the citizens deserve to feel a better sense of comfort and a better sense of being safe if they're going to the grocery store, if they're getting gas, not having to worry about somebody take their car when they're getting gas, or approach them in an aggressive manner. So we believe that as part of our initiative to regain a sense of civility and safety in this city, that we have to invest in this community violence intervention. And so you'll hear more of that, and we plan again to ask our state leaders to help us, and I'm glad that we have our state senator, Kirk Hatcher, here, who he and I have already been in contact about this topic, about how we present it to the state and what it would not only do for the city, but what type of example we can set for other communities as well.
Thank you. Yes, right here.
Good evening. My name is Kyra Washington. My question is in relation to education. Knowing the curriculum currently implemented in our school systems, topics that encourage financial literacy are rarely enforced, leading to a large gap of knowledge present within our population. Obviously, especially when transitioning from high school to college. How can we bridge this gap so that we can have a more effective school system that truly benefits its students?
Thank you. In my conversations with Dr. Brown, he is for what I'm going to call non-traditional topics and subjects being discussed. I don't know, again, the school board is meeting right now. I don't know where they are in that process, but he has expressed an interest in doing that as early as elementary school, as they're doing in other parts of the country, and doing more of that here. Second, we've also had several organizations reach out to us and ask if they could use our community centers to teach this as well. So as we talk about refurbishing the bricks and mortar of these community centers, we also want to think about how we reprogram these community centers to make them more active and more engaging for not only young people, but also adults who need the financial literacy training as well. So we have 3 very, very good ones, nationally credible, that have reached out, and we do have one group with Operation Hope that has already started doing that with our city employees, and that started about 2.5 years or so ago. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Mayor Reed. Thank you for a job well done, and we support you. But my question is,
can you give us your name, please?
Marion Brock III. And my question is to you: is there an interest in authoring an ordinance to hold the parents of, minors, juveniles who are actually committing these crimes to account?
That's a good question. That's one that's been discussed. Let me say this. To answer your question, yes, I'm open to that. I'm open to the discussion. I've expressed that to the city council members that brought it up. Where we have run into some pause is legally what can we do, okay? And where do we what can the city do legally now? I don't mean what ordinance can we pass. I think if we probably did it from the council probably without legal concern probably would say yes. The question is, can you legally do that? And to be honest, I've gotten answers on different sides. Now, it may very well be that we have to just do it and find out later, that we're wrong. I didn't say we will. It just it may be that. We certainly are at a point where we believe parents have to be more involved and engaged with knowing where their young people are, and more importantly, what they're doing and who they're doing it with. And it can't be left up to the men and women in blue to be mothers and fathers on the streets and teaching them that. So. All right, Charlie, come bail me out now.
Thank you. There's a question right here in the second row. If there's a microphone coming for you.
I'm loud now. My name is Angela Exford. Thank you, Mayor, for all you do. My question is in relationship to economic growth. We have so many 18-wheelers coming through our city that are eroding our roads. Have the city looked at a project to have a safe parking space for those 18-wheelers to park so that they won't have to worry about their load and they don't have to park them all over our city?
Yes, and that's been an issue that's been brought before the city council before, in particular on the Southern Boulevard. But we see it not just there; we see it in North Montgomery and West Montgomery as well. What we hear is we don't want another truck stop because people, and I think rightfully so, don't like the activity that comes with some of the truck stops. But to enforce the no trespassing again takes our officers away from what we think are priority calls, if you will. And so we have not been asking the officers to go to an empty big box parking lot and enforce that. What we may have to look at doing is, do we find that property owner? Some cities do this. They have significant fines if you're found to, basically if you haven't secured your parking lot and there are trucks or there are other illegal equipment that's being stored there. We also have a problem with that in our neighborhoods. We hear that from a number of residents at city council meetings, and we get it online as well, about those trucks being parked in neighborhoods. That is certainly against city code. You cannot do that. And again, I mentioned expanding our code enforcement department and what we're doing. Those are things that we want to do. But one of the things that this council has talked about doing, and I don't think I'm speaking out of turn, is increasing a lot of those fines. Some of our fines are just kind of, they're $25, they're $50 that people don't really pay attention to. You may have to add a zero or a second zero on that, to kind of get people to pay attention to that. And hearing that feedback from you all city council meeting and hearing it online, those are things that are helpful to us because we can't be eyes and ears everywhere. And when our council brings it to our attention, or those that are in the cabinet or lead various departments, those are conversations that we have, and then we kind of get told by, legal that, okay, you can't do this, but you can do that. And we get told by our policy advisors, this is not on the books, or our city clerk, Brenda Blaylock, who's been there for over 45 years, who can, tell us, what we have in Act 618 and maybe what we need to have. So we hear those concerns, but we don't want to pull our officers to enforce property issues, and we've got to figure out where that middle ground is to make sure people aren't just allowing truckers or anyone else to have activity going on right outside residential neighborhoods that should not be happening. All right.
Thank you. We have time for about one more question. I'm sorry, there's someone in the back over here. I'm hearing over here. They've had their hand up. Back here. Okay.
Brad,
yes, sir.
Can we go a little longer?
Oh, we can go a little longer. Yes, sir.
We got a little late start, if that's okay.
If y'all are okay with going past 7:30, sounds like a full quorum.
Hello, my name is Jackson Myers, and I wanted to ask, with the discussions regarding community centers and other such things, can step up? All right, is this good? Okay. Can the families and the communities of Montgomery expect increased sidewalks or other pedestrian infrastructure that will allow either minors or other or people that don't have a car in general access to these community resources?
That answer is yes. That has been a big priority for us since coming in, is how to make the city more walkable. And in our current design plan, we are looking at how we redo some of the, let's take, for instance, you got a lot of one-way streets. One-way streets create, particular downtown, create high-speed thoroughfares. How do we create those to two-way streets and widen the sidewalks? How do we bring about more micro-transit, including the use of scooters for younger people to leverage them? If you're in cities not very far from here, a scooter is probably almost predominant among a lot of young and active people. They aren't all young. Active people, as you would see on a motorcycle. So you have a lot of people that are leveraging that. And for us, it is how do we take some of the older plans that this city has and how do we blend with some of the new trends that we're seeing around that. And so our community centers are part of it, but really when you look at some of our neighborhoods and some of the zoning plans that have come up, they're already doing that. And that's, great for not only those developers, but it's great for, I think, our current residents and our future residents. Finally, I do want to say this, infrastructure is not cheap. Infrastructure, sidewalks, paving costs a lot of money. So that's why we are as active as we are in Washington, D.C., trying to get as many federal dollars as we can because there's a significant amount of money just based around that and essentially trying to get people out of their cars, to get people to do more walking, both for health reasons as well as climate reasons also.
Thank you. She has a question, and I know she has a question. Can we go ahead and have your question?
My name's Rebecca Baker. Thank you for being here. I really enjoyed these questions and your answers. Mine is related to the police department. Obviously, we're understaffed, and I'm assuming we have a budget for that. I know the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office and ALEA have both been helping or assisting the Montgomery Police Department. Is there a way to use some of the budgeted funds, for the police department that we're not using with our numbers down to continue the Sheriff's Department and ALEA to help us?
Yes, thank you for that question. We've got a police budget of about, I think, $59 million or so. And those vacancies are allowing us to do the bonuses and the 15% raise. So that's how we're reallocating those dollars, not to get too far into budget speak, but you have that job that's budgeted. If it's not filled, obviously we're saving on that compensation. We're using that rollover for these raises that we're pushing out, or else we would not be able to do it. So that's how we're pushing that forward. But I do want to get to a question that you didn't ask that will become a issue, I think, as we start to replenish our recruiting, is how do we sustain that? Right? So when we get back over 350 and we get back to 400, how are we going to sustain that on our budget? And so we're going to have some real conversations, maybe not tonight, but about the funding for the city of Montgomery and the revenue streams for the city of Montgomery, because we want a lot of things, and I think the city deserves a lot of things. I don't really particularly like that Huntsville has a lot of newer, shinier things, or some of our other cities. And I love the mayors and love what they're doing, but we like new and shiny things too. But again, they cost, and we don't have that $100+ more million that some of our other peer cities in Alabama have. So this year we can use those vacancies for the pay increases, for some of the compensation, the increase in compensation. But over the next year or two, we're going to have to figure out how we sustain that, and that can only be sustained by increasing revenue through some way, shape, form, or fashion. And because I added a question that you didn't ask me, I want to make sure I answer your second part to that question. What was that second part to the question you asked me?
Are we going to continue to utilize Sheriff and ALEA?
Yes, we will continue to utilize ALEA and the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. I feel like we can come to a financial resolution where that's concerned. I feel like the state is a willing partner. We have to get our I's dotted and T's crossed to make that ask of the state as well. And I believe that we'll have the financial resources certainly to continue. And I want to be clear, Sheriff Cunningham has not let up one bit on his collaboration with MPD, he's already talked to our new interim chief, Great Boys. I think that he plans or has talked to former director, former chief, Batiste. So he has not let up one bit, nor have the men and women at the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. So they've been great, and the same goes for the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency as well.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Right over here. Can you? Yes, can you use the microphone, ma'am?
Okay.
Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Mayor Reed, you are a leader. Great leaders have a vision. What is your vision for the city 10 years from now, 20 years from now?
Thank you. And thank you for your work here at AUM. Our vision is to grow the population and to grow this economy in a way that sustains this region. And right now, Central Alabama, which is defined from Clanton down to Atmore, depends more on Montgomery as an urban center than any other region in this state. That's significant. So for us to be able to sustain Central Alabama, our hospitals, our workforce, our infrastructure, our public safety, all these things that we're talking about tonight, we have to bring in new talent. We have to bring in people. We have to bring in new jobs. And with those jobs come people, and certainly, hopefully some of our folks that are here get those jobs. Well, that leads to another opening. So we have to make sure that we have the best and brightest in our respective fields to continue this record economic growth that we've seen the last several years. But we also have to make sure that we invest in parts of our city that have not had that investment. Right now, we have over $75 million pledged in West Montgomery alone. That's both public and private. Thank you. And so we've got assets in the city that have been underutilized, that have not been invested in, that we are focusing on in order to achieve just that. We've got to make sure that we invest in our infrastructure. We have people in the city limits, which I did not know when I first came into office, who do not have access to clean water, who do not have access to reliable water treatment. That's a problem. We have people in the city of Montgomery, the capital city of this state, that do not have access to high-speed internet. That's an educational barrier. That's an economic barrier. Those are challenges that we have to make sure we address. But our vision is for this to be the very best city that it can be for those that live here and those that we want to come here and to grow this economy and to grow our population in a way that we can continue to be the regional hub for Central Alabama and continue to be the shining star that I think this city has been and will be and still is.
Thank you. There's a question over here.
My name's Terry Williams. I would like to know what we are doing or funding for the homeless people. Yeah. This is a big problem for Montgomery. You know, to feel sorry for some of them, but everybody's got their own story. But we see them day in and day out, and we have shortage on what we're going to do with that.
Thank you.
Great question. It's a topic that we're on. We have a homeless task force that's been assembled over the last year that I think has been one of the best things that we've done. We had a lot of great people working on this issue over the years that just weren't talking to each other. And now we brought about, I think, 14 agencies under one umbrella, and we'll be cutting the ribbon at our Consolidated Homeless Center at the old WSFA headquarters, which is now the MAP Center, led by Pastor Ken Austin. In just a few, there he is. I see. Stand up, Pastor Austin. Stand up again so they can see you. I didn't know you were back there. Thank you for being here. But he has been doing tremendous work in this space. And I also want to say and thank the City Council for passing the Business Improvement District that came through our Chamber of Commerce and Ron Simmons and so many others who worked on this to help downtown. The question was brought up around tourism a little earlier. We've already started to see the benefits of how we can kind of clean up downtown, how we can help some of our homeless population find spaces during the day. We want to continue to do that. I've recently reached out to the Salvation Army about their plans. We've had about 4 or 5 locations. And folks, I just got to tell you, the Salvation Army has to go somewhere, okay? So, you know, that was part of the Whitewater land swap and purchase. The city played a major role in that, but they've kept that money. And we asked them to put that money back, and that's $5 million. So that's not just throwaway money. And we asked them to put that money back, which they're willing to do, but every time they get a site, no one wants the Salvation Army to come. And so I don't know that anybody wants to volunteer their area, but we do need a place, and that's what was said to me in the last couple of weeks. So to get to your question, we want to do that. And finally, as it relates to those that are in the medians, because our city council, and to their credit, brings it up quite a bit, to those folks that are in the medians, again, we can move them along. We cannot arrest those folks who are asking for money. The best thing we can ask you to do is not to give them money. Okay, I know out of your charity, out of your kindness, you want to help them. There are ways through these other organizations that they can be helped for those that want to be helped. When you give them money, it encourages them to stay where they are. Now, in my conversation in one of my interviews with Chief Grayboys, I asked what was his plan for how we could use policing to assist those, not arrest, to assist those who are, you know, having, you know, a bad stretch. And one of the things we talked about was the crisis intervention team and using those who are not our officers that we're asking to go out and do the tough calls unarmed, but can go out as part of crisis intervention to help those who may have some mental health challenges, who may have some other challenges and need the help. So he is firmly on board with that, has a great concept of how to utilize that. And back to the question about the funds, we have the resources available to implement that. We will be asking maybe some of our citizens to get engaged, those that can help us, and then get them from the streets or from a abandoned house or from somewhere where they under a bridge to our consolidated homeless center or to one of our other agencies. That is something we're committed to doing. And finally, I'd be remiss if I did not mention our community development department. We are looking at how do we purchase maybe old motels for temporary housing for those that are in treatment, and how do we build more housing models from tiny homes and others that you're seeing in other parts of the country who have dire homeless situations. So we think the federal funding is there for that. We can't take it out of our budget. I don't have to look at my finance director to know that, but we believe that the federal funding is there, and we just have to make sure that we can make the case for why it's needed here. But I'm going to say this again. We're going to have to put those tiny homes somewhere. We're going to have to put some of these places in some part of the city. We got to figure out, you know, how we address this issue without all of us saying, well, but just not in my backyard. I don't know where it is, but that'll be a conversation again for a different day that we'll need to have. Thank you for that question.
Mayor Reed, are you open for at least one more question?
Sure. We got a
okay, there's a couple of them,
right
and I know this lady in the green hat's been raising her hand for a long time.
Yes.
Hi, Mayor Reed. Thank you for having this town hall meeting.
Could you tell us your name?
Annette Stow. It's my understanding, and I agree with you about permitless carry. It should have never been passed. I can't go shopping. I don't want to see anybody having a gun. I can't do it. I have to order stuff online unless my husband goes with me. I can't live like this. It's my understanding that local governments are allowed to enact their own laws for permits and guns, and it is not unconstitutional to do that. Have you all looked into that? I have written to Governor Ivey a few times begging her to repeal that.
Thank you.
And I just get a form letter back, basically.
Thank you for that question.
I wish local ordinances could override state laws. We do that on a number of things. but we cannot do that in the state of Alabama. That may be in some states where they have more lesser home rule at the state level legislation and laws, but we cannot do that in Montgomery. The only way to change that is through the legislative process. And again, I will be asking for everyone's support, those that are here in person, those that are watching it virtually, to help us change that, because, again, it was the Big Ten mayors bipartisan. The League of Municipalities, which is over 400 cities and towns in this state, were against this, as well as all of our law enforcement associations. So it was pretty unanimous, and we aren't always unanimous on things, but it was pretty much unanimous. This was going to be a bad bill, and that's what we have right now. But again, I'm going to say this, even with that, there still has to be, some concern among people for human life. And there has to be, again, a level of civility that we have to value once again. And again, we talked about character development in schools, but I'm going to tell you all what Chief Hall shares with me. Anytime we get a call in our center, it's not just young people that are doing this. I want to be very clear about that. So, everybody can kind of hit the reset button, if you will, to address how we handle disputes, how we de-escalate these things, and how we do a better job around conflict resolution. Because I don't want to paint the picture of a broad brush that is all young people. It is not. People may have some challenges, people who've lost hope, people who don't feel like they have the opportunities that maybe they should have. There are a lot of factors here, but certainly the law didn't help, and we want to change that law in this next session, and hopefully we can find that middle ground around sensible gun reform, because it's been done in other southern states. So it's not just kind of a blue state, red state thing or north, south, east, west thing. It's been done in other southern states. They have found that middle ground. We just have to find ours here in Alabama.
Thank you. Yes, there's a question right back here.
My name is Krishna Katipalli. I'm a recent graduate from AUM. So I guess it's on May 1st week you have hosted a job fair in Crampton Bowl. I was there and they named as hot jobs and I have applied. And since then, there was no proper communication from the county personnel or that department. I would just suggest if properly acknowledging or communicating with the applicants, that would be a good sign for the progress of the city.
I agree with you. What department was that? IT department. I know the IT director pretty well, so I'll make sure he gets that memo from you. Thank you for that.
Thank you. There's a question in the back of the room, the young lady in the green.
Hi, Mayor. I'm Alex Gladden. I just had a question about the crisis intervention teams. Yes. I was under the impression that we already had a crisis intervention team in place for mental health concerns that worked with the crisis stabilization unit. Has that been disbanded?
No, it has not been disbanded. It's not as robust as we would like for it to be. And what we've seen from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and some other cities are ways to get citizens, some who are retired law enforcement, some who are retired military, others who have backgrounds that are related to some of the troubles that we find with a lot of our homeless population, to be of assistance and to go through training with our police department.
Thank you. There was a question right over here. The lady with the brown shirt.
I don't know if I need a microphone. I've never.
It's helpful for our online community as well.
I'm Jana Bailey, and it's more of a comment to everybody. It's so great seeing so many people packed out here. I've been 30 years in nonprofit, and Pastor Ken and many others that are here in the nonprofit. Mayor, I want to thank you and those on your staff who have maybe gotten it at the light bulb moment that the city, and I speak to all of us that part of this city, that it is not government's 100% responsibility to make a city run well. And so, thank you. It is all of our responsibilities. And so it's easy to sit at home and complain about things, but the partnership and the collaboration with city and citizens and nonprofits, we have to get out of our silos and we have to work together. That's the only way. You just said it, that some people have given up hope. And the lady back here that talked about the crisis intervention, nonprofits are doing that, and right now we are partnering with the Consolidated Housing. We are working with Eddie Compton and his team, and so I want to thank you for continuing to really push those partnerships. And like I said, I challenge everybody in this room. Everybody goes to Sam, buy some paper towels or toilet paper, take them to the Mercy House, and it will really make a difference. So thank you.
The lady with the purple, yes.
My name is Pat Felder Cato. Back to what you were talking about when the pastor stood up, you were talking about the infrastructure on the west side. There's a site next to his facility, MAPS, and across the street from my home. Used to be Cloverland Apartments. You have a sign, or someone has planted a sign that says site. What is that going to be?
I do not know. I haven't seen that sign, and I traveled that space quite a bit. I haven't seen the sign, so we'll find out.
How can we find out?
Yes, ma'am. We've got our planning director here. I'll ask him to speak to you after this is over. Maybe he knows, but it hadn't gotten to me yet. I hope it's something good, though.
I do, too.
There's a question right over here with this gentleman.
Good evening. My name is Chase Chisholm, and my question, substance abuse and drug addiction are significant issues in our community. What initiatives are currently in place to tackle these problems, and what additional measures can be taken to support those struggling with addiction and prevent substance abuse?
Thank you for that question. You know, there are a lot of issues, and what we do really from the city is we support those organizations that are in the space. Our city council, through their discretionary funds, they do a lot of that. We've got several organizations that are in the city budget that we support, and essentially what we try to do is help those who know what they're doing in this. To the degree that there may be some other organizations out there that are doing good work that we don't know about, you know, please let us know. At the city level, we're always looking for ways to increase the health prosperity of our residents, and there may be some things that we've been doing by practice just because of tradition that maybe we should tweak, and we're always open to that. And if there's some organizations that you know of, let us know. And then the other thing I would say is we've got to make sure that at the state level we continue to advocate for funding in this space as well, because I will tell you, as someone who was a probate judge for 7 years, you see a lot of those issues transform into mental health illness. So it's not just the drug addiction and drug abuse that we see in the hospitals. You see it in our court system as well. So that's the role we play at the city, and we are always looking for partners who are doing good work to continue that effort.
Thank you. Is there a question right here? Yep.
My name is Sandy Gibbs. We know that in 2020 you were blocked. Will you consider asking the Alabama legislature for a commuter occupational tax to fund policing and the things that you want to do long term, so that that occupational tax, commuter, the people coming in, tearing up our streets, getting their salaries, and going back home and complaining about Montgomery, can we please consider asking the Alabama legislature? They blocked us, blocked you, the city council, back in 2020 when you first got in office. You came in working, you were trying to get streams of revenue to the city, and our Alabama state legislature and our governor let Auburn, Oxford, other cities have an occupational tax for commuters.
Thank you.
but won't let Montgomery.
Yes, we plan to bring that issue back up. We plan to ask. We plan to seek some level of feedback from the state and how we may go about doing that. Hopefully that is legislatively, but if not, we'll look at other measures as well.
Thank you. There's a question right here.
Hi, my name is Tan Lampley. My question is in regards to, as several people have said, get involved, and some have mentioned the Office of Violence and Crime Prevention. I may be saying it wrong. But for those who do want to get involved, how do you get involved with that department? And is there something online or a resource that lets you know what's going on in the community and when there are activities or events that you may volunteer for?
Yes, and we welcome all the support. And again, many people in this room have been engaged and involved, and we thank them for that. Keith Moore and Rotias head up that area. Office of Violence Prevention. Pastor Ed Nettles is the unofficial czar director in that space, has been leading it long before I was mayor, long before the previous mayor and that mayor. He's been in that space for a long time, and someone that we go to for a lot of counsel and advice on that. So from the city side, yes, our Office of Violence Prevention is here, so they can tell you about their events and their programs and how to get involved. And certainly I think Pastor Nettles can talk to you about some of the organizations that are doing good work in the community and that are really making a difference as well for those that want to be a part of it from that spectrum as well. So thank you so much for asking that, and be willing to be a part of the solution. Thank you.
There's a question right here.
My name is Pat Wallace. I just wanted to ask a question in reference, backtracking, in reference to the homeless situation and Salvation Army. The building behind the police department that used to be a school, what about that building?
You get lots of solutions.
So, one, the city does not own that building. That potentially could be a place for the Salvation Army. I will tell you that that site has been mentioned for several other projects that I think would benefit the city more. And if we were to take ownership of it, or to buy, I guess, ownership from Montgomery Public Schools, who owns that building. But if those ideas are not, then I think it's certainly something worth considering for us, given where it is right now in this proximity, not only to our police department headquarters, but also just being right there in the center of the city.
Mayor Reed, we are fast approaching the 8 o'clock hour. I wonder if you might want to offer a closing remark for us tonight.
Sure. I'll be much more brief than I was starting. Again, I just want to thank our city council. I'd like to ask for our city council members to please stand. I see Charlie Jenwright right here, city council president, C.C. Calhoun over there in the back, Frenetta Riley as well. Again, I know we had some neighborhood association meetings, and so several reached out and said they would be unable to make it. They have been hosting their community town halls quite a bit around a number of subjects that they see and they bring to our attention about how we can do better as a city. I just want to say that it's not just the mayor and the city council and the police department and all the 2,400 plus employees with the city. It's community partners like Carl Stockton and AUM. It's our colleges, our universities, our two-year colleges, it's our business owners, it's our faith leaders, it's our educational leaders, it's our organization leaders, and some of you who are the mayors of your neighborhoods, your streets, your blocks, and your communities, who you know more about what's going on than we could ever have with any drone or anything else, because you're that engaged. That's what really makes this city what it is. I'm going to say this. I look at this glass as being half full, not half empty. You don't get a project like Meta if you're a city, as competitive as it was, who's just throwing out freebies. Everybody throws freebies to them. You don't just get them on that. They do their homework when you don't know they're doing their homework. They're here before you know they're here. So we're doing a lot of things well in this community, and it's because of all of you in this room and so many more who are watching online and in their homes and so forth. We got to continue to tell that story. We got to continue to talk about the positive things that are happening. One of the most important things that we can do is to talk about the good things that are going on in the city. It's very easy to talk about what's bad. Very, very easy. I mean, bad news sells itself. You don't have to sell it or promote it at all. Trust me. That happens. We are fully aware at the city of Montgomery in all facets where our challenges are and where some of our weak spots are. The question is, how do we address them? And how do we come up with a solution? And I believe the best way to do that is to come up with those solutions together. And I think that's the way that we continue our success. That's the way that we continue to close the gap, is by working with one another, having some tough conversations. In between, I've had some with some of you over coffee. I've had some with some of you over a beer. I've had some with some of you just over lunch, just over a little quick conversation, meetups. All of those things are important. All those things give us feedback, along with the 400 questions that we got. And I scrolled through a good number of them. I'll scroll through the rest as well, because that tells us what's on your mind. That tells us where our weak spots are and where our problem areas are. So you all continuing to do the work collaboratively in the area of public safety. We didn't talk much about public works. I came here with all my questions around trash ready. I didn't get one question around trash, but we know that there are challenges around trash pickup. I'll help you there. And some other areas that we didn't quite touch on that we hear quite a bit. But we do these things by working together, by understanding that we're going to disagree sometimes. We don't have to be disagreeable, and understanding that we're all in it together. Because when a company like Meta plants a flag, other companies follow suit. And that is as much attributable to you and the work that you're doing and what you said to somebody at a restaurant you didn't know who you were talking to, as it is to what we're doing at City Hall and what our city council is doing each and every day in their part-time, full-time jobs that they have as city councilmen and women. So I want to just thank all of you for coming out here, for being engaged, for giving us that feedback. Keep offering those solutions, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram, whether it's snail mail, or it's phone call. Whatever is easier for you, we want you to continue to do it. And we'll continue to do the work, because we know that we aren't near where we want to be, but we can get there by working with each other, working together, and working to make this city the best it can be. So thank you very much, and thank you all for taking time out of your schedule.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor, for those insightful and encouraging remarks. We are delighted to be citizens of Montgomery. And thank all of you tonight. Safe travels home. I would, if you could just wait 1 second. For those of you...
If you can wait 1 second, just one quick announcement.
For those of you who are desirous to continue this work and to be part of making Montgomery a better place, this Saturday at 10 a.m., at Highland Park, there will be a Stop the Violence March. This Saturday at 10 a.m. at Highland Park, there will be a Stop the Violence March, and I expect to see every single person who is here today at that march. Thank you so much.